The Locked On Podcast Network presents the NBA Big 3 in 30. The three biggest stories in the NBA from our local experts at the Locked On Podcast Network. We bring you the real story, why it matters, what's next, who wins the big game, and more, all in 30 minutes. The NBA Big 3 in 30 starts now with the biggest stories in the NBA. This is the Spurs Postcast, your instant game reaction for the San Antonio Spurs.
San Antonio, in my mind, their biggest win in half of a decade. Some would even say since 2014 tonight. 111-109, rallying past the Oklahoma City Thunder in Victor Wembanyama's return after missing nearly a month. He, of course, is NBA champion Devin Brown. My name's Casey Vieira. We've been doing this all year long, and we've been setting benchmarks, and we've been moving goalposts, and we've been doing all these things to play devil's advocate to really wonder what the Spurs really were. Tonight was the ultimate benchmark. We could not have pushed the goalposts any further back than we did going into this, and they got Victor back tonight, and they shined in the brightest of spotlights and got the win.
Yeah, definitely. Casey and everybody, welcome to the show. Another great episode. Let's talk some Spurs basketball, Casey. I'm ready.
This is what you'll be talking about.
All right, so you know the footnotes on Oklahoma City, 24-1, 16-1, 16-game win streak entering the season, Wemby coming back. Those were the headlines. We knew that part. But what we did not know, what we found out about 15-ish, 20 minutes before the game started, was that Victor Wembanyama was not going to start this game. They brought Wemby off the bench, and we knew he was available, but we saw that he was coming off the bench. We're like, oh, okay, well, we'll see how it goes. Maybe that's what they need, that spark coming off the bench in the first. Well, they didn't play Victor in the first quarter, and probably could have used him at that point because they started the game 0 of 12 from 3. Wemby did not see a second on the floor in the first quarter. Ultimately, they go down 31-20 after one. Victor gets his first minutes in a month. He checks in right at the start of the second, and that deficit promptly goes down to 4. He goes out after about 3.5 minutes of work, and what happens? The deficit balloons back up to 16, and the Spurs are looking hapless. The shots aren't falling. They're turning the basketball over, and you're thinking this is going to be an Oklahoma City runaway. Well, Victor checks back in with about 3 minutes to go, and the guy's down 16. And all of a sudden, things turn for the better. They go on a 13-0 run to close the half, get within 3 at the break, 49-46. Vic goes for plus 20 or a plus 20 in 7 minutes in the first half. They play even essentially in the third quarter, leading into a competitive fourth quarter, a 1-point game. SGA doing his thing, not letting this get out of hand as the Spurs would go by as many as 6 in the third, but some big-time defensive stands, some big-time shot making from Devin Vassell, De'Aaron Fox, Wemby, the go-ahead score that put them up by 1 with 2:32 remaining in a stretch that set off. They held Oklahoma City without a field goal from the 2:55 mark until 14 seconds. SGA hitting the layup after they exchanged free throws. All said and done, it leads to a 111-109 win. Victor's stat line is 22-9 to a plus 21 in 21 minutes of work. That's how you consolidate things into a minute, and I did not nearly do as good enough job as I should because there's a lot to talk about. So that's where I defer to you, my friend, because it was a lot, and we saw Victor back in his finest form tonight, even if it was in a brief fashion.
Yeah, so, from the beginning, when you talk about him starting or not starting, no, you reward those guys that have been out there and the fact that the group have been playing well. Did they get off to a good start? No, obviously not. But in the same token, boom, you get Victor out there, and he looked good. And the Spurs played well. Coming back from that deficit, and that's what they were fighting all night, and able to do that, right there in that second quarter. But you see the confidence, later in the game, and the guys that had been out there, and then, like we had talked about, Casey, being able to add something like Victor to what it is that, these other guys that are playing well, it's a whole nother dynamic. So we were able to see that tonight. And, like you said, just, from start to finish, there were so many things going on there. But in the end, the Spurs picked up, like you said, a big, big win. And we hadn't seen that kind of success for a while.
And I think it was really a microcosm of what the past month has been, because as we know, we've talked about plenty, 9-3 in the 12 games, essentially month that Victor has been out. And I don't want to say they look like they haven't skipped a beat, because it feels like they've been a different team, different kind of identity of sorts, but
Right.
they didn't skip a beat. And I thought that's what kind of played into the turning point again in my mind this evening, was them not skipping a beat and ultimately proving to be the difference.
Time to reveal where the game was won or lost. It's the turning point.
All right, so Spurs up by 1 at the 7:28 mark. Victor is on a minutes restriction in this game. The 20 to 24, I believe, was the number that they were trying to keep him towards. So he checks out with 7.5 minutes to go. They're up by 1. And you're at this point thinking, with this Oklahoma City team, this is obviously the elite, and you're just saying, guys, just hold on. Just hold on. Just hold down the fort. And for all intents and purposes, they did, because Oklahoma City did turn that into a 3-point advantage at one point, but the Spurs get back ultimately to take a lead. A couple SGA free throws puts OKC up back by 1 before Victor checks back in at the 5-minute mark. So yes, the Spurs did technically lose that window, but they didn't lose the window, because that was, inevitably naturally the fear when you see Vic check out. You're like, I hope they can hold down the fort. And they did. And it was the usual suspects, as it's been. Clutch shot making from Fox. In my opinion, Devin Vassell played his best game as a pro tonight. He had 23 points. All of them felt like were just big, pivotal buckets. Fox, 22.
Right.
Stephon Castle, 22, 6 and 2 himself. Just, in my opinion, that stretch right there just kind of spoke to how the past month has been. And they did it without Victor, and then they let him come back in after finding his legs, and he closed the door.
Yeah, definitely. Those other guys. I mean, and we've been, watching this the last month with him being out, and just these guys stepping up, shot after shot after shot. And, Victor's who he is, right? And he's going to command a lot of attention, but these other guys have played enough games to be familiar with what it is that they can do, to help the Spurs win ball games. That's what we saw tonight. And on the other hand, when you can, Casey, you'll love this, when you can add a guy like Victor, that's probably going to make you, better as well. So just great all around performance. My hats off is to everybody. And, like you said, adding Victor is just a bonus.
What do you think of the idea of bringing him off the bench tonight?
Well, like I said, those other guys have been out there. They've been playing well. Not a big deal. Just for the fact. Now, is it taking a chance? Well, of course, it's taking a chance. I mean, if we're doing this against your boy Jordan Poole and the Pelicans, that's different. But against this team, OKC. But at the end of the day, they pulled it off. They won, so we can look at it a whole different way. But not a big deal, just in the sense that the others have been playing well. The 3-point shot was lost, there. But they came back and actually shot it pretty decent. Actually outshot the Thunder. We were looking at it. The Thunder were 9 of 37 for the game.
9 of 37. And I guess if you're doing the math, the Spurs finished the game 13 of 42. So what's that? If you take out the first 0 for 12, that's 13 of 30. So
13 to 30. This is
almost
almost 50%. Yeah, absolutely.
Great.
So you'll take that. You'll take that. The biggest thing is they won the rebounding battle overall. And so, they haven't done that against, some of these teams, but definitely won it tonight. And, like I said, I was going to say that earlier, but, big win.
I like the idea of them bringing Victor off the bench.
Not for long.
Not for long. Well, I don't anticipate it to really happen. I
Yeah.
mean, maybe it was cute against Oklahoma City, but I don't anticipate him coming off the bench against the Knicks. I don't do that. I look at
No.
it so from the lens that they're kind of playing with house money with something like this, is that they're going to have to think outside the box to beat Oklahoma City. Whether we're going to try to, for the first time, go with the 3-guard lineup with Fox, Harper, Castle, with something like that, which I don't think they did in any capacity. If they did, I didn't catch it. Whether they do something, I mean, bringing Victor off the bench probably was really thinking outside the box, probably stretching the limits of it. But I know that's more of a rotational kind of thing, and it evens itself out. But it's a gamble that they took, that Mitch took, the staff took, and it paid off because, again, you're playing with house money when you're facing a team that is riding a 16-game winning streak. It's 24-1 on the season.
Right.
At that point, at one point in the game, is up by 16 points anyway. So you're just saying, why the heck not? Let's just try it. And it worked.
It worked.
NFL Sundays move fast, one big play, and suddenly everything feels different. That's what makes live betting with FanDuel so exciting. You're not just watching the game, you're reacting to it in real time. With FanDuel, you can place bets as the action unfolds, every drive, every momentum swing, every highlight moment. You can bet next touchdown scores, drive results, totals, and more. It keeps you locked into every snap, every drive, every possibility. So if you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long. FanDuel, the game moves fast, and so can you.
The New York Knicks ride their incredible pace past the Orlando Magic.
You are Locked On Knicks, your daily New York Knicks podcast.
Let's start off talking pace. I don't know if that should be ahead of Jalen Brunson because I'm probably doing what we all tell you in the media not to do and taking Jalen for granted. But the pace just stood out to me in this one. The Knicks finished this one with 20 points in transition, part of like a broader effort where they had one of the better 2-point shooting games against a good to great defense that I remember in my years doing this. They're 44 of 64 from 2-point range, 69% from the field. And they score 132 points in a game where they make just 7 threes. And to me, that kind of starts with their pace. And it was so multifaceted, right? It to me is emblematic of how Mike Brown has maximized the talent on this roster, because you just see like so many different hands in the pie is the analogy I want to use. I don't think that's a real thing, but I'm going to say it. You just see so many different like guys in the mix. That's cleaner, right? Not as flashy. But like Karl Anthony Towns, major factor in getting them out and running, right? A game they have 20 points in transition that would tie the Raptors league leading per game mark on the season. Like Cat over and over again, just dominating the defensive glass. It is such an underrated part of his game. It is a big reason why those catch-all metrics say he actually is a pretty good defensive player. And then just his willingness to get off the ball quickly. And to me, like, that is a microcosm of what we saw from Cat in this game, which was like hyper, like how can I maximize my efficiency while not having an outsized like amount of time on the ball? And Cat's rebounding and willingness to just throw hit-aheads were a big part of it. You look to the guards like Jalen and Kolek, just consistently pushing pace head up, whether it was for their own offense or to create for someone else. You look to the event creation, like Josh Hart had, I think, 3 or 4 different pokeaways in the second half. And then you look to some of the passing, like Josh, I'll highlight it again later because it's amazing. Like he threw one of my favorite passes I've ever seen from him. Josh, like his whole Knicks career has thrown just like some mind bending, like transition bounce passes through a lot of traffic. But the one he had to Mikal Bridges after OG charged back, stripped Anthony Black, threw it ahead to him, and he just whipped it up the court between Wendell Carter Jr. I can't remember, maybe it was Bane, the other guy was back, to Mikal Bridges. That was, pass of the year candidate. Just ridiculous stuff from Josh Hart. And then OG, like, again, like he gets that started with his defense. He was also another guy who was out and running consistently and then able to, like, even when Orlando had guys back, find a way to make a play. But I go to Mikal Bridges almost ahead of anyone on this list because all season long, if you've watched Mikal Bridges, he is running dead sprint end to end. He doesn't miss games. I said it before, as of like a week ago, I'm going to quickly check what he's playing now. He was still playing 35 minutes per game, right? It was not a significant reduction from last season where he was at 37. Yeah, he's at 34.8 minutes per game right now, right? He's still playing a ton of time. He plays every single game, and you watch him night in, night out. He is running hard. And maybe 70%, 75% of the time when he runs like that, you probably don't even notice at home because he doesn't get the basketball. But he is consistently sprinting, and that opens up stuff for other players on most nights. Tonight, he consistently got rewarded. He absolutely feasted in transition, and an against Orlando team like whose whole MO, right, is playing harder than you, playing faster, playing more aggressive. He consistently beat them down the court. And that was a huge factor in the Knicks winning this game against one of the elite half-court defenses in basketball, right? You don't really, like, Brunson was so good tonight, it didn't matter. But in general, you don't really want to be tussling with the Orlando Magic in the half court. And the Knicks' efforts to get out and run and find easy buckets made it so they didn't have to, and made it so they could survive a night, again, where they didn't need to really shoot all that well from three to win. I can't remember if I said this before, 42 paint points in the first half. I mean, the effort from the New York Knicks there was just ridiculous. But we gotta pivot next to Jalen Brunson, because Orlando's defensive philosophy in general, but in particular in this one, was, hey, we're not going to just let you bury us in threes, right? And the Knicks, as we mentioned, took just 20 of them, made 7 of them. We were going to play you straight up, and hey, Jalen, go get 50 points, right? Because it's going to, like, your teammates are not going to find a lot of other easy stuff in the half court. And the Knicks, by and large, were able to find some easy stuff in the half court outside of Brunson, but Brunson was so good, they almost didn't need it in this game. 40 points, 39 minutes, 16 to 27 from the field, 2 for 5 from 3, 6 to 9 from the foul line, 8 assists, 4 rebounds. Just another masterclass. And look, we had people this offseason. I saw my guy Schwinny, who just tweeted out a clip of it, like saying Paolo Banchero was better than Jalen Brunson. Like, and I'll fall back on his quote tweet. I think that this is just a common saying at this point, right? Everyone's better than Jalen Brunson until it comes time to actually go and be better than Jalen Brunson. And at that point, Jalen Brunson is usually the best guy on the court in these big games. And it is such a luxury as a fan that I think I've probably grown accustomed to and comfortable with a little bit too quickly. But to just walk into these games and say, hey, either I know, like tonight or last night, that the Knicks are going to have the best player on the court, or I know they have a chance to have the best player on the court. Like, even the Knicks are going to play the Spurs in the final. Even if it was Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, I would say, yeah, he's in a vacuum. He's a better player than Jalen Brunson. On any given night, could Jalen outduel him, even against the Thunder's defense? Yeah. And Jalen's, like, I think having a short week definitely helps with this. But over the years, I've, like, consistently noted that there are just specific nights where Jalen has a little bit more of a pep in his step. And even on the nights he doesn't have that, he can compensate with his craft, with his footwork, with his shot making. But when Jalen is fresh and has, like, legitimate burst to separate from defenders on pure speed, there's no guarding him. And it doesn't really matter if you're Jalen Suggs, who's, like, arguably the best point guard defender, or at the very least, excuse me, in the conversation for the best point guard defender in the NBA. And, like, there was just, and to be fair, he was getting everything back that Jalen was giving. They both had 25 points in the first half before Suggs got hurt and missed most of the second half. Jalen was cooking him. Like, first play of the game, quick screen reject, dusted Paolo Banchero for a lay, then toasted Suggs, set up a corner 3 for OG Anunoby. He started doing this. Maybe he's been doing this his whole career. I don't know, but I've just started noticing it, where he looks like he's dribbling towards Cat on a screen, and he'll just flip his hips towards the opposite sideline, like as if he's angling towards the screen. Defender buys it, and then lightning fast flips him back and just goes straight to the rim. And it fools defenders seemingly every time. He got Suggs for an and one on that. They tried Tyus Jones on him, way too small. Easy turnaround jumper, then got into the footwork bag, pump fake, hezzy, step through from just inside the arc for a runner. SVG, Stan Van Gundy, had this great stat on him that he's averaging 1 second less per touch this season. Again, that is a Mike Brown stat in my mind. That is good to know. And it doesn't sound like much, but over 90 touches per game, that is a minute 30 less of each game that he's on the ball, a minute 30 for these other guys to touch the ball, to have it in their hands. That means quicker decisions, quicker actions involving Jalen Brunson. He was just, like, feasting at the rim in the first half. The two-man game between him and Cat was really effective. There's one play I want to talk about it from Cat's perspective because it was mostly due to Cat's gravity, but they did have Brunson come up and set a screen for Cat at one point. That was the one where Cat drove and kind of lost the ball and hit OG for a dunk. I'm interested in those two running more. Inverted pick and rolls. Second half, I mentioned like he had that transition play where Cat just got a rebound, threw it up ahead. Jalen gets it, crossover, straight to the rim layup. OG hit him for a corner three. Like he hit Mitch on like a live dribble lob. He's gotten much better at making that pass. That was a pass like I remember his first year in the Knicks. He pretty consistently struggled with. The two late moves that were just dirty were like when he dropped black and hit the step back three, and then like this crazy sequence when Tristan da Silva was on him. He goes behind the back into a step back into a step through. Carter sees it, times it up perfectly, and Jalen just throws the ball straight up in the air and in. That's a Steph Curry like 99th percentile touch layup. Like just an absurd play for Jalen Brunson. Masterclass from the Cap. And I am so looking forward to what he does Tuesday because I want to see if he can top this and maybe have another epic duel with Victor Wembanyama.
NFL Sundays move fast, one big play, and suddenly everything feels different. That's what makes live betting with FanDuel so exciting. You're not just watching the game, you're reacting to it in real time. With FanDuel, you can place bets as the action unfolds, every drive, every momentum swing, every highlight moment. You can bet next touchdown scores, drive results, totals, and more. It keeps you locked into every snap, every drive, every possibility. So if you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long. FanDuel, the game moves fast, and so can you.
The Lakers hang on and win the craziest game of the year.
You are Locked On Lakers, your daily Los Angeles Lakers podcast.
This game was insane. The Lakers do pull out a 116-114 win in Phoenix. And they did it without Austin Reeves. They did it without Luka Doncic having a good game. They did it without a lot of things that normally go into a game. They turned the ball over a million times. They couldn't hit a three-pointer, and yet they managed to win the game. This one was insane.
Yeah, as I tweeted out at Cam Brothers, this game would have been arrested for public drunkenness if it already hadn't died of alcohol poisoning. I mean, like, it was one of the strangest games I've seen in a while. It was strange in the way the Lakers played it. It was strange in the way the Suns played it. It was its own category of strange in the way Dylan Brooks decided to approach waves arms around all of it. It was strange in the way the refs decided to review every sixth play of the game, yet let the physicality get, while very entertaining, really chippy, spilling on the verge of out of control. Yet Dylan Brooks also got like 15 warnings in this game before event. Like, it reminded me of in The Karate Kid when Mike Silver, the villain, or excuse me, Mike Barnes, the villain trained by Terry Silver, is fighting Daniel LaRusso in the tournament, and he hits Daniel LaRusso at least 10 times illegally, and the ref says, okay, you do that one more time, you're disqualified. That's the way Dylan Brooks, until the point where he eventually got ejected, that's the way the refs were playing.
And we'll get to this. Like,
everything was just
he got ejected after making what could have been the game-winning shot. But he still lost his mind that he went and tried to chose that to be the time he tried to pick a fight with LeBron.
He's like fifth.
Goad LeBron into, some sort of stupid play.
It's not that he tried at that point to pick a fight with LeBron. He tried to pick like his fifth or sixth fight with LeBron at that point. This wasn't even a one-off. This wasn't even like a four-off.
Right, because they had already reviewed the play where he swatted the ball at LeBron's head, and the ref was like, I mean, I guess they couldn't prove intent in the video, but like, it's like, you really think Dylan Brooks didn't do that on purpose?
It was the Mike Barnes, Daniel LaRusso. Okay, one more legal hit, and we are going to
I feel like that referee in the karate tournament knew that those hits were illegal. And like, was right in front. The whole thing was so stupid. I do need to let people know that today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. If you want to be right in the middle of the action this season, visit FanDuel.com and place your NFL live bets all season long. The Lakers went into the half of this game. I mean, I will say, we got to talk about the bench, which was the deciding factor of this game.
Absolutely.
The defense, rotation changes, all of these things. The Lakers played a bizarre first half where they really didn't deserve to be anywhere near tied, which is what they were. Again, thanks to some strange Phoenix fouling near the end of the half. But they turned the ball over a ton. They couldn't hit a shot. They weren't playing particularly good defense in the first half.
I thought they were in parts. I actually thought in the second quarter, when it was a lot of the bench heavy lineups led by the surprise hero of the game, one Jared Vanderbilt, who I had basically turned into a political cause, put this effing dude out on the floor, JJ. Like I feel like an activist who finally got his cause put
I
in
hope this
front
means
of.
I'll stop getting texts.
I mean, like, because throughout last week, I think our everydayers know on Locked On Lakers, I had been bringing this up a lot. I brought this up. It was a big conversation point on my weekly 710 ESPN Lakers show, Lakers Talk, which all y'all should be listening to. And I noticed over the course of this week that more people were asking JJ about this. Jared Vanderbilt was getting put in front of the media specifically to answer, hey, why ain't you playing? Do you think you could make a difference? Like, I'm not going to say this only happened because of me, but I frankly don't feel it happened not because of me either. I feel like I had a small role, again, as an activist, and my political cause was Jared Vanderbilt.
And, JJ had foreshadowed that he was going to play in this game. And that was before we knew even that Austin Reeves was not going to play. He's going to miss about a week, hopefully not more than that, with a calf strain, the official injury of the 2025-26 NBA season. But, teams rightly being careful.
I hope that sponsor's paying big money, man, because it's hurting the league.
Big calf. It's really, but every team is being super careful with these calf injuries after what we saw happen at the end of last year with, Halliburton and Tatum and all these torn Achilles, and that's often the precursor for it. So the Lakers are being careful. They're obviously, Vanderbilt was going to play. JJ had said it was gonna happen. The Reeves injury makes that a little easier because obviously you're opening up a rotation spot. But this Vanderbilt was part of a big part of a. We'll just get to this stuff now. A bench group that I think played its best game of the season. We often judge these things based purely on bench scoring, which I think for this group of Lakers is often not going to be the best way to do it in terms of full-on end-to-end contributions from multiple people on the bench. I think this was their best game.
Yeah, well, I know we're going to end up talking at length about Vando in this game and, the effect that he had, because from moment one, he entered the game at the top of the second quarter and immediately got an offensive rebound and putback basket of a miss from Gabe Vincent. But if you look at the four main guys off the bench, Vando, who we're going to get into at length, Jake LaRavia, just 6 points, 2 of 9 from the field, but 8 rebounds, 3 on the offensive glass. The offensive glass was massive in this game for the Lakers. I believe they had 24 offensive rebounds, which led to 25 second chance points, which played a big role in offsetting the fact
and
that
at one
Lakers,
point deep, not to cut you off, but just to drive home how good they were on the offensive glass. At one point deep into the third quarter, they had more offensive rebounds than defensive rebounds.
Yeah,
which never happens.
No, it does not, but it played a big role in offsetting the fact that the Lakers shot 19% from behind the arc on much too high a volume for that crappy an output. I mean, to put in perspective how just bad, and again, the 3-point shooting was also bizarre theme of the night. They had, I think, 4 threes in this game. Let me double check. 7 threes. They hit 7 of 37. One of them was from Jared Vanderbilt. Like, that's just how insane the night went.
They even went back to that when he had a heat check. He hit the corner 3, and then like a minute or 2 later, he's like, let's try this again. Didn't go down.
But really quick, Laravia 8 rebounds, 3 on the offensive glass. He had 2 steals, 2 blocks, plus 13. Gabe Vincent, 5 points and a steal. You wouldn't know the impact that Gabe had if you hadn't watched. He drew at least 3 or 4 fouls in this game, just off ball. He really worked hard in this game. Jackson Hayes, 12 points, 4-4 from the field, 4-5 at the line, 9 rebounds, 3 on the offensive glass, plus 11. Those 3 guys and Vando, and just in case we don't get deep into them, DeAndre Ayton, who was a supporting guy who was huge tonight as well. 20 points, 13 rebounds, 6 on the offensive glass, 2 steals and a block. It was really a night where the supporting guys, and I think some critical moments from LeBron, but really the supporting guys were the story of this game.
Let's stick on that, because I think it's really important for a maligned group to have the kind of night that they did on Sunday.